There's 3 reasons potentially of why your listing is not getting clicks or purchases or views or just traffic in general from the Etsy algorithm. And so by the end of this video, I'm really hoping that if you're struggling with that problem, right? Like you're launching a listing or listings and it's just not getting any exposure or any clicks or any purchases after a good data sample of time. By the end of this video, you feel confident after you watch this video that you will by yourself be able to dissect why this could be potentially happening for your specific products, right? And if you stay until the end of this video, I'm actually going to go over the reverse of this. So we're going to actually cover if you're somebody in the case scenario where you had a listing that used to be performing, but then now it's not performing anymore. We're going to talk about why that could be potentially happening and some options you have with that as well. So let's not waste any time and let's get right into this video. By the way, guys, I just relaunched my free Etsy all-in Etsy masterclass. So I have an all-in Etsy masterclass, but I unlocked the first 4 modules of it for free as like a starter program. So a lot of today's lesson, a lot of what we're talking about today exists in that program. It goes a little bit more in depth than just this short YouTube video. So if you still walk away feeling like you want more, or I mean, even the free part of that masterclass goes into other topics as well. So yeah, make sure you go to the link in the description and you can get in that free starter course. Okay. And I would argue it's not really even a starter course. It goes way more than just starter. All right. So the 3 reasons that your listing could not be performing. And first let's define performing, right? What does the performing mean, right? So performing, the way that I would look at a listing not performing, and everyone has their own definitions of this, by the way, everyone is allowed to have their own definitions based off their experience. But how I would define a listing not performing is you launch a listing and after 2.5 months, you're not getting any sales, right? So after 2.5 months, if you see that you have not gotten in the hundreds of clicks or in a couple thousands of views on your listing, right? The algorithm, the Etsy algorithm is not favoring it for some reason. And so before we just assume that like the market's crashing and it has nothing to do with me, right? We want to do a little introspection first and actually figure out where the issue could possibly lie. So again, there's 3 things that could be going on. The first one is that the product could not be positioned properly. So that means that what they're seeing in the main image versus what your price is isn't a sexy enough, something I call value proposition, right? So the perceived value of the item doesn't justify your price point in comparison to your competition. Value proposition and positioning yourself in the market is huge. And a lot of times it can make or break a listing if you're not positioned properly. Okay. Again, we're going to go deeper into all this in a second, but first we're just going to go over the 3 things. So the second one is there's an actual marketing problem. So maybe your value proposition is competitive, but you're not actually marketing the product as competitive as your competitors, so you're not earning the click. So it's a image/videography problem. So first thing, really the main thing that you have the opportunity, the first moment of truth that you get with a listing to be able to earn the click in comparison to competition is your main image, right? So if your main image isn't earning a good portion of the clicks when it shows up on the page, right, it could be a marketing problem. Again, we'll go into more case study examples later on. Now, the third and the final thing, which is the worst case scenario, is it's an actual product problem. So no one likes the product, no one wants what you have to sell, right? So that could be another potential reason. There's an actual issue here with the product, and that just means that we need to not focus on more renditions of that thing, but we need to focus on more renditions of products that people actually want to buy. But by dissecting 1 and 2, right, we'll be able to go through this exercise. Hopefully it won't be an actual product problem. All right, now we're going to do a little backtracking to figure out where the main issue may lie with our product. So the first thing that we need to ask ourselves is, did we do competitor analysis before we launched the product? And again, guys, my all-in Etsy masterclass, that free, the first 4 modules that I'm giving away for free, basically goes really, really in depth on this and making sure that we validate and elevate before we go to market, right? The worst thing that we can do is spend thousands of hours, hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars in a product line that no one wants to buy, right? And so when we go to market for the first time, we want to, on some level, to have analyzed the market. And you can find case study examples of people that don't, and they just kind of wing it on a whim. But that usually, even if it works out, for the first few months doing that and you do see immediate success, it serves you to a certain point. But eventually you want to make sure that you have an understanding of the market so that you're setting yourself for the best case scenario for the time spent, right? So we want to go into the actual market, see what the potential is, and then prioritize our time for best case scenarios based off what the market tells us. So let me just explain here. Okay. So this is a product launch template. This is a template in that free starter course or whatever, but you can use it for the same thing because it's a little bit different. This template was made for when you're planning your product launches, but in your case, you actually launched a product and you're not seeing it perform, right? But we can use this in the same way. And so, like I said, the very first thing that we need to do is we need to ask ourselves, did we actually do any sort of competitor analysis? So first, who is our competition? Our competition is somebody that's attracting the same customer avatar as us, right? So again, if you're selling jewelry and you tell me that your competitor is Shop ABC, but they're selling solid gold jewelry and you're selling fast fashion gold jewelry, right? That's not actually your competition. Someone that wants to buy solid gold jewelry and someone that wants to buy fast fashion jewelry is two completely different customer avatars, right? It's a different psychological purchasing decision, right? So what you need to go do is you need to go validate that the listing that you created, there is actually some sort of proof of concept in the marketplace on Etsy, or maybe it's not even on Etsy, which is even a bigger opportunity. Maybe you got inspired by a product idea on someone's TikTok shop, right? And now you're bringing this product that actually doesn't exist on Etsy to the Etsy platform, right? Which is honestly a really good way to find product opportunities, right? And actually some of the best, most viral products on Etsy are because they didn't exist on Etsy, but there was a proof of concept that existed somewhere else, right? And so what we want to do is we want to write out what that product is, so that listing link, whether it's on Etsy or not, right? And we want to see some sort of data or some sort of social proof that says that this product is actually something that people want to buy. So on Etsy, the only form of social proof that you have is the number of reviews that the product has, right? You can even argue the age, right? So you would want to find listings that possibly were launched within the last 6 months that have a good amount of reviews, or an add to carts badge. So let me just show you what that looks like. So when you add a product to cart, you can actually see 20 people's carts, 61 carts, right? So if you are analyzing the market of a product that is attracting the same customer avatar as you, and they have clear signs of momentum with either a bunch of reviews, like their first review came in the last 6 months, which means, you can argue their listing is about 7 months old if it took them a month to get their first review, right? Plus they have, badges like this where it says 61 carts, 20 plus people's carts, right? That is a validated product idea that people actually want what you have to sell. So even if you're not selling the same exact item or the same exact bundle like this, but it's still attracting the same customer avatar, right? Even if the components of your listing is different, at least you have validated that this listing should be successful. And then it just means that we have to do certain things to get it up to the standard. So basically, like I said, you can use this template in the same way, right? So basically, this is just a table, and you can drag and drop your product opportunity list and prioritize products that you want to focus on first, second, third, which is what it's primarily used for. But in your case, if you haven't already done this, what you're going to want to use this for is for validating some of your top competitors and looking at what they have going on, right? So you can drop the listing link here, whether it's Etsy or not, right? So if it's, say it's not on Etsy, say it's a viral TikTok item, right? But you click on that TikTok shop, right? And you see the amount of reviews it has, right? Or it's in a video on TikTok and it has, the center of the video is that actual product and the video got 1 million views, right? Obviously there's something there. There's a proof of concept that people want to buy that product, right? Especially if it's all in the comment sections. So wherever you're finding the source of that product, it's just you want to validate it with some sort of KPI, some sort of data, right? Then the next part of this is we need to ask ourselves, what is their unique value proposition? Not yet what your unique value proposition, but what is their unique value proposition. So what are they doing that's getting 61 add to carts, right? Are they offering personalization? Are they bundling the item? Are they going the price route and undercutting the market on price? Do they have more variations than you? Do they have a daily sales strategy? What does their creative marketing look like? Does it compete or does it beat yours, right? We're going to talk more about that in a second. Or are they doing something else that's just like, wow, this is really contributing to that listing? And all of these things seem like small things individually, but when you compound them and do them all together, it's what builds a moat, a layer of protection around your listing. And in reality, it's really the sellers that go the extra 10 to 15% compared to the sellers that don't, that get majority of the sales. But the amount of extra effort in most cases is not like this crazy amount of extra effort, right? They're just doing the 10% that the 90% don't want to do, right? So that's the first thing. So first, before we just decide that our listing, that Etsy algorithm hates us, all those things, we actually need to go backtrack a little bit. We need to go back and ask ourselves, did we validate this product idea in the first place, right? If we didn't, we want to come in here and we want to go find at least 5 people that are directly competing with that listing. And we want to analyze what their unique value proposition is. And then in your case, we can start listing what we're doing. And now it's very black and white, right? What are they doing versus what are we doing, right? And if we're not meeting them or beating them on value proposition, then there's got to be some sort of problem. And it's not always price. And it doesn't mean you have to beat people on every single thing, but you need to be at least up to par with the value proposition. So what are they seeing in the main image versus what are they getting? So in this case scenario, when we look at this one right here, right? So their unique value proposition was, look at how many things you see in the main image and, compared to their displayed price is obviously working really, really well. So can I add that much value into my main image showing all those items, right? Something like this, right? Again, guys, we go through a lot more case study examples inside the starter course as well. Now, if we do this, right, and now it becomes very black and white, if we see that we're falling short, but there is actual opportunity for us to enhance our listing, right, then we can start compiling a to-do list of things that we need to do. Maybe it means that we need to figure out how to offer personalization. And maybe that takes you a month to build that system. That's okay, right? You're building a more competitive business. Maybe they're doing more bundling than you, right? Maybe we need to go out and source some more items or better quality, right? Quality is another one that we should add to this one, right? So, if it's not price, if you can't compete on price, then it's even more important for you to do something in these other realms, right? Say you cannot come in on price. You just can't do it, right? Then we need to add a different sort of value proposition, meaning we need to bundle more, or we need to offer personalization in a space where they don't, right? We need to do something that justifies our price, right? You can't have a weaker value proposition with a more expensive price unless there's a justification for that person to spend more money with you, if that makes sense, right? So it's kind of like if you were selling, again, I always go back to jewelry example, right? If 2 people are selling necklaces, but one person's selling a necklace at $30 and you're selling it at $150, well, what's the justification for the $150? Well, if the justification is that it's solid gold or better quality, right? Then there you go. Now, once we did some competitor analysis, and let's just say off the top of our head, we know that value proposition isn't a problem, right? So that leaves 2 other things left to analyze. So the next thing that we can analyze is the creative marketing side, right? So what is our main image? And the easiest, cheapest, best best way to do this is take your main image and put in your price, put it in a Google sheet, take some screenshots and compare it to your top 5 competitors, or the 5 competitors that you validated that their products are selling really well. Take those screenshots, put it in a Google Doc and send it out to 20 to 30 of your friends or people and ask them, which one would you click on to purchase, right? Just ask them. Don't tell them which one is yours, and let them go ahead and tell you honestly which one would they click on. And if you're not earning the majority of those clicks, then we know that there is an actual creative marketing problem, right? And this doesn't mean you have to do this every single time you're launching a product, because surely after you do this 3 or 4 or 5 times, you will understand what makes a competitive image in terms of lighting, in terms of staging the product, or if it's a mock-up, if you're doing print on demand, right? So your main image is so vital, right? There shouldn't be an ounce of confusion of what the person is getting. The product, if you're selling a phone case, the product itself should take up 80% of the airspace. There should be nothing obstructing from seeing the full of what they're getting, right? So a lot of times I see, especially with the print on demand, people will use mock-ups where it's like half being cut off with someone's arm, or I don't know, something someone's holding something and the shirt's underneath, but you don't know what they're actually getting. You have 2 seconds top to make an impression on someone in a search page, right? And if you are not fully understanding what you're getting and what the value proposition is without having to read anything in that 2-second time window, then you already lost the click, right? So your main image is absolutely vital, and how you zoom into that image and make it the center focal point of the image. And sometimes it's as easy as just changing the main image, right? So it's turning an image into this, from this, or something like this, into something like this, right? Now, finally, if you go through the exercise of 1 and 2 and you try a new rendition of your product, you try to enhance it, you split test the image a few times, which, by the way, the nature of Etsy is you can split test everything. So you can always duplicate and run the listing again and give it a fresh new shot at the algorithm, which is, by the way, is what I would recommend. I don't recommend you editing the existing listing. Duplicate the listing and run it again, because that gives it a fresh new score in the eyes of the algorithm, right? So when you do this, right, and say you increase your value proposition, it's a valid product that we know is working in other people's shops, and so we went ahead and we increased our value proposition, split test the main image multiple times, so you can test it out more than once with more than one main image, because that is the beauty of Etsy. You can duplicate and run it against itself to see which one performs better. And if that is not working, then we can conclude that maybe it's actually just the product itself. No one wants that specific version of the product that you have. Now, if we validated the product idea and we know that some people want it, right, then we need to actually rethink what the actual product is and go back to the drawing board to really understand what is going on with the actual product. And sometimes you have to go through this exercise, a couple of times to really nail it. But eventually, by doing this over and over again, you will, just off the very top of your head, by going through these trainings, right, be able to finally spot winning products over time. You don't always come into e-commerce or Etsy and already understand what makes a winning product. So we only get better by doing it over and over again. And finally, guys, for the people that are actually having the reverse problem, where you had a product that was performing really well and then it stopped performing. Well, the first thing that we have to understand is that listings do have lifespans, right? Even my listings, right? Some listings that I launched that went viral, that were getting me, 10x return on ad spend, right? You'll see it die over time, and then it's only getting me 5x return or 2x return, it's a natural thing for listings to die. But what can you do in this case scenario? Really, the only thing that I would say that, you can do is, the only thing that I've seen that has an actual product back from the dead or from dying is split testing it again. So duplicating it with a new fresh set of photography or mock-up and running it again, and maybe even changing up some new fresh keywords if there is any new keywords, right? And if I go and relaunch an older listing that used to perform, that's not performing as well, and I do that 2-3 more times and it still doesn't, gain momentum, hit the algorithm good again, then usually it's a product problem, and it's just the product itself is kind of, that fad was over, that trend was over, that product, whatever people liked about that product, there's maybe something new going on, right? And so then I don't really worry about trying to revive it, right? And that energy and time spent is better on new products and new product launches, right? So after I've tested something 2-3 more times and it still doesn't retake off, then it's not worth the energy of stressing over it to put that energy on new renditions of product. And again, this is a normal occurrence. It doesn't mean you're failing. It's just the natural cycle of product trends, basically. Overall, guys, thank you so much for staying till the end of this training. Make sure you're commenting your questions and concerns down below. Also, make sure you sign up for my all-in Etsy masterclass and you will unlock the first 4 modules completely for free. So yeah, I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks, guys.